I've spent the last 5 years creating a foolproof plan for every single one of you watching this to completely change your life in the next 6 months. And I promise you, by the end of this video, if you follow this step by steps, by the time Christmas rolls around, you're not even going to recognize yourself. I'm going to pat myself on the back because a lot of work has gone into this, a lot of fluff has been cut out. So I'm going to keep this as short and sweet as I possibly can for you guys, give you only the most important information so that you could change your life. So let's dive into it. First things first, number one, the most important thing that you need to do, and the thing 99% of people skip, which is why you always go back to square one, and that is going to be clarity. Clarity is essentially getting clear on who you are right now and trying to figure out how that differs from the person you are trying to become. You're putting a gap between your current self and your future self and trying to figure out what lies in the middle. The way I like to kind of explain it to people is very simple. Can you imagine playing, let's say, soccer and trying to score in a goal, but you have no idea where that goal is because you're blindfolded? That's what most people are trying to do when they want to change their lives. Is they are like, okay, well, I know I want to get better, so I'll just start trying different habits, throwing different things in. Everything I learn, I'll just implement it. Just basically kicking the soccer ball with no rhyme or reason. What we're essentially doing in this first step, and the most important step in my opinion, is we're taking off that blindfold so you can see exactly where that goal is and start taking the steps needed, the dribbles needed in order to score in that goal and become the best version of yourself. Now, there's a million different ways that you can go about figuring out these two individuals. Inside of Elevate, which we'll talk about a little bit later, I have ways to do it completely for free. But to make it nice and simple, if you just want to start picturing it in your mind, is who is the version of you now? What are the traits they have? And who is the version of you that you want to become? And what's the difference between them? That's it. Nice and simple. Perfect. So that then takes us into number 2, which is habits. So this isn't actually implementing the habits yet. This is a very quick, and it should emphasis on very quick, be almost a research phase. So what you're doing here is you are figuring out, okay, from these 2 points, from the person I am now versus the person I want to become, what habits do I need to start doing today in order to become that person? So let's say you look at you now and you're like, I don't like my body. The future version of myself, the best version of myself, I imagine them having a very aesthetic body. Okay, well, it's pretty clear there that you need to start going to the gym and possibly eating clean, eating protein, some of those items that we already know off the top of our head, right? Okay, so we'll write that down. A habit I need to implement is gym and clean eating consistently. Perfect. And you're going to do that for a few of the different traits from the version of you now versus who you want to become. That is step number 2. Sometimes it's going to require some learning to figure out, okay, well, what's going to be the most effective way to go about this? But a lot of that is going to come down to point number 3. Point number 3. This is what I like to call just doing it. A lot of us get stuck in stage number 2. A lot of us get stuck in stage number 2. And that's the stage where we're watching videos. We're learning more. And it's exciting. It feels like we're progressing, but we're really not. So making that jump from step number 2 to step number 3 is crucial. Where you just start doing it. Go out. Go to the gym, even if it's ugly. Start eating, even if you don't know exactly what you're doing, if you don't have a perfect meal plan. Start doing these things that you know you should be doing, even if they're not perfect yet. Because that imperfect action is what is going to start creating that ball rolling. I always like to think of it as like a snowball, right? You start at the top of a hill. It's super small. And you start rolling it down. It requires a lot of effort at first. You got to nurse it. But eventually, it just starts getting enough momentum and it just gets rolling faster and faster. It gets bigger and bigger. That is exactly how this works. You just start doing, and the results are going to follow through trial and error. And then finally, number 4, and I know I've said this a few times, but this is genuinely the most important part. And the reason for that is because it's the part where most people fall off, where most people fail. And that is going to be just doing it consistently. Showing up each and every day, regardless of how tired you are, regardless of how bad you do not want to do it. Showing up and getting it done. Now, this is something that I thought for the longest time, oh, I don't need anyone holding me accountable. I don't need anyone making sure I do it consistently. I'll do it myself. I'm pretty self-motivated. I lost so much time because of that. I genuinely did. And look, you might be different. I'm not saying everyone's exactly like me. You might be different. But just from my own experience, man, I bit myself in the butt so bad trying to do that. So, please, I don't care who it is. If you have a friend you can do it with, a partner, I mean, a community you can join, do that. Tell people about your goals. Speak them into existence. That way, if you fall off, you do not go unnoticed. There were so many times I had a goal in my mind and I started doing it and I'd fall off and no one would say anything because no one knew about the goal. You have to voice it. You have to make people aware. So, for a lot of you who have watched these videos before, and if you're new, welcome, but I have a self-improvement community I created called Elevate. Now, I spent the last 5 months completely revamping it because I realized the structure I had in place was not what I needed in order to make growth the highest potential for each and every person. So, steps 1 through 3, I have created to be completely possible to do inside of Elevate completely for free. I spent a year back in 2023, 2024, creating 60 plus video classes. And those are all now completely free for you to use. So I had to do something new for premium. And that is where I really honed in on, okay, if I was starting from square number 1, if I was looking for that accountability, that consistency again, what would I need? And I created that. So there's going to be daily, weekly, and monthly check-ins that you are required to do. The weekly check-ins, I'm going to review personally for now. It won't last long, but for now, via a Loom video or on our weekly coaching call, basically saying, okay, here's what your last week looked like. Why didn't you go to the gym this day? What's going on here? And holding you accountable. That way, you're never going to fall off going unnoticed again. So it's super beneficial. Now, of course, I have a finite time, and for $1 a day, it's not really sustainable for me to do this for hundreds of people each and every week. So what I'm doing for now is I'm kind of doing what's called a founding member is how I'm thinking about it. So for the next 9 people who join, most of the spots are already taken, but for the next 9 people who join, you'll basically get locked into having the weekly check-ins done by me for life. So you won't have to worry about when I bring on a community manager to do the check-ins. I'll continue doing them as long as you're inside of Elevate. So if that sounds interesting to you, fantastic. I'll put a link down in the description. Regardless, I mean, I don't care if you join premium or free. It really doesn't matter to me. If you can join free and stay consistent and achieve your goals, I'm going to be the happiest little camper alive. Premium is literally only for those people who have tried and know they need more accountability. I've been there. So either way, check the link down in the description. It'll have both options there. You can kind of compare and contrast for your own needs. But regardless, I mean, even if you don't join, I don't care. I mean, I really do not care. You could do this all without Elevate. But whether you do join, whether you don't, I'd love to see you inside. I appreciate you watching this video. I hope you learned at least one thing new. And I got a lot of other bangers coming soon. So you stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.